Keep or sell? Who will stay? Who will go? That's the question on the minds of, I think, probably David Moyes and most West Ham fans' minds this summer. And of course, what most of us will do is we'll sort of form our own opinions. You know, who should be going off somewhere else? Who should be keeping at all costs? Who do we need to replace? Who do we need to bring in? What we're going to do on the channel today, as I'm sure you've seen on many other fan channels, is we're going to be going through the West Ham squad and saying keep or sell. Of course, we have the option as well to loan, but I'm going to try and keep it mainly to keep or sell. So we're going to start with Joseph Anang, a keeper who has been on loan for many a season now. If he leaves, he leaves. To be honest with you, I feel like if you've had this many loan spells at the club and you haven't managed to make your step up to the first team or even on the cusp of it, then it's probably not going to happen for you. So if we want to chuck him out on loan again, fair enough. But for me, we probably do sell him. Areola, keep for me 100%. I really hope he makes that step up to the number one this season, especially with the next person I'm about to mention, Fabianski, potentially leaving next year. I say keep him. There's no point selling him. He's on his last contract, 37, 38 years of age. He's not going anywhere. He's not going to be doing anything crazy. So for me, I think our keepers next season are Areola and Fabianski, and I don't think there's a huge need to buy someone else. I would like someone to come in for the understudy to Fabianski as our second string keeper. That is someone that maybe we need to sign this summer, but this for this specific summer, it's not a must for us if we keep those two. Moving on to the defence, Nair Faged, easy, keep him. One of our best defenders last year. Really excited. I'm really glad we signed him. And I don't think we'll even be looking to move him on. Soufal. That's an interesting one for me because I think if you just asked me that question at the start or the midway through the season, I probably would have said sell. But he has had a sort of comeback. He has done really well to get back in the side. And when you think about the other fullbacks we have now, I think we need a new left back and a new right back this summer. You know, potentially maybe Emerson could make a case for himself, but I think he's too inconsistent. So I think we need a new left back and a new right back this summer. So when I'm thinking about that, and I know we've got the likes of Ben Johnson, Soufal, and Tio Kera who could potentially play there. Is Soufal someone we want to keep or sell? I'm going to say keep. I'm going to say keep Soufal. I'm going to say sell Ben Johnson. Look, he's a West Ham Academy player. I've got the utmost respect for him. But the level at which he needs to play at the moment, he's just not playing at. I don't know where he's gone from the player he was a couple of years ago. But I think if we can sell him on for, a couple of million and bring in a proper right back, have Soufal as the understudy and Kera obviously is someone who can potentially play there, I think that'd be really smart. So for me, Johnson, I think, has to go. On the opposite side of the pitch, with fullbacks, you've got Emerson and Creswell. I don't want to sell Creswell. He's a team, he's one of the OGs from the bowling ground, and on his day he can produce some really good stuff. But I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's good enough to play for us at fullback level. I mean, it's a horrible comparison to make, but look at Emerson's performance in the final, our biggest game, and then look at Creswell's performances in the two knockout rounds in Europe last year, where he got sent off basically twice in our run. I don't think he's necessarily good enough. I think he's lost his legs a little bit. So, but I don't want to sell him now. Am I being? Is this the heart over the head argument? Am I being too kind on Creswell? I don't think so. I don't think there's anything wrong with maybe having three left backs, but I still have the sentiment that we need to sign a new one. Emerson, I think, keep as well. He's been quite good for us. Moving down the list, we've got Tilo Kera. Oh, I love Tilo. I really do. I don't think he's the man who's going to break into the first team at centre back. I think he's a really good backup option, but I really like the vibe that he gives to the dressing room. I think he can produce some really good performances at right back as well. Ogbonna, now, interestingly enough, his future at West Ham is actually a little bit uncertain. It's thought that he is going to sign a new deal with us, but it is his last year and he hasn't actually signed a new contract yet. So I'm not sure if we're going to offload him yet or not. For me, I would like to keep him. I think there's no reason we need to change the centre backs too much, and that's why I'm also keeping Kurt Zuma. The Zuma-Aguerd partnership can only get better from here. Both fairly young centre-backs as well, so there's no need to there's no desperation to sign a new one. So I think so far we've got selling for me is Anang, Ben Johnson, and I believe that's it so far. So I've only got Ben Johnson and Anang as the players that I would be happy for us to sell. Moving on to the midfield, this is where it gets a little bit more controversial, I feel. Benrahma, now, one of our better players last year, and somebody that I think deserves to stay in the team. But if we sign someone like Harvey Barnes, he's going to be realistically on the bench for most games because Harvey Barnes has to start games for us. He just has to. There's no reason we're signing him if not that. Benrahma stays for me, though. He still stays. Casey Keelan, or Keelan Casey, sorry. I have to say I don't know a lot about him, so potentially loan him out. Connor Coventry. Oh, that's an interesting one. I would loan him out, but I just don't think he's going to get anywhere near the first team when you got someone like Flynn Downs on the outskirts. I don't know. I'm really not sure on Connor Coventry. He's probably the player, and I think we've got so many exciting youth players as well that have just, they won the FA Youth Cup last season. They did really well in the Premier League. Only missing out on winning the sort of combined one, like very narrowly. So I'd say maybe it's time to sell him. To be fair, I think he's done his bit. There's so many youth players I think that have deserved their chance to potentially make the step up. So for me, Conor Coventry, I sell him. Flynn Downs, keep. I'd really like to see him get more in the first team next season. Pablo Fornals, keep. I really don't want to see him go. Moving towards the midfield, I think would be really strong for him. He's not a left winger. There's still room for Harvey Barnes. I know it's rumoured that if we sign Harvey Barnes or a left winger this summer, that one of Seb Benrahma, Fornals, and Cornet would have to leave. I don't see it that way. I think Fornals would be brilliant in that midfield. I'd really love to see him there. He was there towards the last portion of the last season. You also got Levi Lang. Again, no disrespect, but I don't know too much about him, so we'll leave him. Lanzini is, of course, we know he's leaving at the end of the season. Lucas Paqueta, mate, just give him what he wants. Honestly, Lucas Paqueta has to be the focal point for next season. Build a midfield around him. Ask him, what do you want? Do you want a number 6 behind you? Do you want a partner to run forward? Where do you want to play? He has to be our focal point. With Rice potentially leaving, and let's be honest, there's a very small possibility that he won't. And even if he doesn't, it'll be next season. We've got to look towards Paqueta as that guy to build up the squad for next season. So for me, we have to keep Lucas Paqueta at any means possible. Freddie Potts, I'd say keep. He's got some potential. Maybe send him out on loan. Declan Rice. Now, I know we're looking to sell him, but if it were up to me, I still would sell him. I know every single West Ham fan is going to come at me, and every single West Ham fan is going to think that's a horrendous idea, but it just makes sense. He's going out on a high. He's just won the European Conference League, kept us in the league, had a brilliant season for us. We're going to, dry our tears with money, basically, with Declan Rice getting a potential of 100 million. He might even be part of a swap deal. We have to sell him now. There's no point waiting till next season when he might be worth 40, 30, or even leave for a free. It's just not smart business. So we absolutely, in my eyes, we have to sell him this season. And if it were up to me as a hierarchy, I would still sell him. I think it's a good decision. And we've also got Thomas Souček. Sell him. That's my opinion. Sell him. I don't think he's good enough to be at West Ham United. Don't get me wrong, brilliant character, wears his heart on his sleeve, gives absolutely everything for the football club. So I'm not trying to sit here and disrespect him. I'm not trying to sit here and question him at all. But for the way we want to play football, being quick on the transition, he doesn't work in the squad. The only reason he's in there is because, one, he's got decent defensive capabilities, and two, he is tall. He's so tall. He's like 6'6", and when we do what we did earlier in the season, which is lumping the ball up, trying to win the ball high in the air, trying to get it to Antonio, trying to build our way up the pitch by lobbing the ball forward, he was really good at that. He was really good at being able to pluck the ball out of the air. But But often when he did that, he didn't actually get it on to somebody. So it's harsh to say, but I do think Thomas Suchek has to lead the club. He's had 2 seasons of underperforming. If we can recoup like 20, 30 million for him, I think it'd be a smart decision. I know a lot of West Ham fans have changed their mind on Suchek because of his role towards the end of last season, but I think we have to sell him. There's no doubt in my mind that he's not good enough for the way we want to play football. I mean, you've got Lucas Paqueta and the way he plays football next to Thomas Suchek. It doesn't make sense for me. We have to be quick on the transition. We have to have someone who's comfortable on the ball, comfortable passing. He can't do what some players who aren't that good at passing do and ghost in a team. He's not a centre back. He has to be on the ball. He has to look for the ball. He has to find those passes. And unfortunately for me, he just doesn't. And he also doesn't score as many goals as he used to. Suchek for me, gone. Sorry, it's going to make people a lot of people question me, but that's the way I see it. Mikel Antonio. Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, on one side of the coin, he's our Premier League top scorer. He did really well towards the end of last season, and he's someone that he's one of my favourite players, honestly. But on the other side, is he good enough to lead a Premier League campaign again? And also, I question whether he actually wants to be at the club now. I don't know. I think we might actually sell him this summer. He's got his stuff going on, and he's at that age now where he might just want to, experience new things. You don't get as long as you think you do for a career. Maybe he wants to go out and experience a new club. If I'm David Moyes though, and I'm looking at the rest of my squad, I do keep Antonio though. It's just too much change. We need someone who's reliable. If we do bring in a new striker and he doesn't turn out to be the player we want him to be, we know that we can fall back on Antonio as someone who's going to be positive. Jared Bowen, what more can I say about this man? He's absolutely brilliant. I really hope he stays this summer. I don't think there's much threat of him leaving, but he's edged himself into West Ham history, and yeah, I really don't want to see him go. So for me, 100% keep. Maxwell Cornet, very on the fence about this, and I spoke about this in a different video. He has a lot to offer us still, and it looks like we're trying to keep it, maybe put him to striker. But if we're getting Harvey Barnes on the left, we've got Harvey Barnes and say Benrahma, and even if we don't get Barnes, I think we're signing a new left winger regardless. Is Cornet going to fit it? Do you know what? For rotation, actually, I think for rotation, we should keep him. He's only just sort of come into the squad. He probably deserves at least another year. I'm not convinced on him, but do you know what? There's no rush, so I'm going to say keep him. Danny Ings, sell. Too high wages. I honestly think we should just offer him to Southampton and say, look, we've got a player here you used to really like. He's probably dropped off a bit now. He's older. We'll put him in a swap deal. Give us Walker Peters. Give us Lavia. Give us, someone. And I think that'd be really smart business from us, considering he's a very high paid player. He didn't set the world alight for us last year, and I honestly don't think he's at the level we need him to be. Mubama, if you watch the recent video, you'll know that me and Mark talked about this, and we think he should actually stay at the club. I don't want to see him loaned out. I don't think that model really works for youth players. There's very few youth players I can actually remember that have gone out on loan at West Ham United, come back and hit the ground running. It was going to be Dean Garner, but it never happened for us. We didn't allow it to happen. We sold him on. Josh Cullen obviously went on loan and we sold him on, and now he's a Premier League player. There's so many players that we put out on loan and they just seem to just be in a constant cycle being put out on loan, and they honestly just get wasted. And then on the flip side, think about all the players who have broken through. Declan Rice, Ben Johnson, and Ngakia. I guess Sonny Perkins, you might be able to say, broke through. At least they didn't break through. That's why he went on somewhere else. Afolayan went to Bolton. I feel like the players that actually do a little bit well for us and we tend to actually sell or put in the first team just tend to get chucked in at the deep end. So I just don't get this whole, if they're young and exciting, chuck them out on loan. What would have happened if Marcus Rashford got chucked out on loan from Manchester United and he failed on loan there and it never really happened for him? He wouldn't be at the club anymore. Phil Foden, most of the young talents I can think of just get chucked straight in the deep end. So I want to see him potentially make a move to the striker off of West Ham, especially if we're doing what I want to do and get rid of Ings. The last one on the list is Skamaka now. I don't think he wants to be at the club. I don't think David Moyes wants him to be at the club, but I really want him to be at the club. People have questioned his attitude, and I can understand why, but he's such a good player. And I think going forward next season, I know I've harped on about him a lot, Harvey Barnes, but if we can sign a decent inverted forward, if I'm looking at my vision for next season, which is obviously what I'm trying to do here with keeping this in the squad, and I get a player like Harvey Barnes, we could even get someone like Harrison, or even put Cornet in as that inverted forward role, and have someone like Skamaka doing the Harry Kane sort of role of dropping off deep, laying it off to Bowen, laying it off to Cornet, allowing Paqueta to make a run forward. It's what he did last, and he's got such a good shot from outside the box. I really feel like we will regret selling Gianluca Scamacca. So I really, really, really want to keep him. But it looks like we're probably going to sell him, and that's probably the best thing going forward, I guess, for the club if his attitude isn't there and he doesn't want to leave. And he wants to leave, sorry. So I think in total, in my list, I've got Anang, sell him. I've got Ben Johnson. I've then also got Connor Coventry. Lanzini's already leaving. Thomas Souček. And I've got Danny Ings. I don't want to sell Skamaka, so I'm going to keep him as not being sold. So that's 5 players that I think we should sell this summer. And I'm saying we probably need to bring in around 6 new players. So I think our depth is okay in numbers, but we just need more quality players to rely on in those situations. Do you think I've been harsh? Is there anyone on this list who I've said we should sell that I'm missing out on, that you think deserves another chance at the football club? Is there anyone I've said that we should keep that you think needs to go straight out the door? Let me know. Give your own keep sell list. I know it's a really big thing in social media at the moment, and I will see you on the next one.